another episode of Life Changers, and this is Mike. So today we have a special guest. We have a guy. We have a gentleman named Alex from Blue Mountain Tarots. Hello, Alex. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Pretty good. So we brought you in because we met once before at Corriveau in Owen Sound.
We did.
And I did a spontaneous, I'm like, I want you to read me.
Yes.
And you're like, I got time, let's do it.
Yeah.
We never met before that.
No.
That was our first time meeting. And I mentioned in my other podcast, but that you were dead on with a lot of your readings and stuff, that the energy you're picking up, I was just like, taken back. And I was giving you not really a hard time, but not giving you much to go on. I was just like, no, you tell me what you feel.
Yes.
And
you were staying quiet for sure.
But yeah, you were dead on. And then after talking with you, I was like, yo, we got to get you on the podcast. Mm-hmm. It's been a couple months.
Yeah, I think it's been about 2 or 3 months
since we met. But yeah, so now we finally got you. Mm-hmm. And then I just like everybody telling me their stories, and that's what it's all about. So like, I guess the first question is, did you ever think you'll be a tarot reader?
No. So first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I definitely going to share a story that involves my tarot, my journey with tarot, but it's tied into a healing that I went through a long, many years, over 10 years of struggling with my health and going through a lot of spiritual awakenings, a path that led me to tarot. So I never imagined that I would ever be a tarot reader, or that this would be my outcome for something that I now do full time. Tarot kind of came in because for 20 years, I channeled somebody that I grew up with. So from a young age, basically 5 years old, going to school with somebody that I grew up with who passed away at the age, I believe she was around 21. Whoa. And I got messages through my dreams, channeled messages from her for approximately 20 years. So I was around 24 at the time and didn't really think much of it. My spiritual journey actually started at a young age, around my early 20s, where I started getting into spiritual books and going to conferences and things like that. And this friend of mine that I grew up with was coming through my dreams. She would give me messages that I didn't really take much of. I was like, that's strange. She's no longer with us, unfortunately. Her passing wasn't necessarily like a natural passing or a good situation, but she was trying to get message through to me. Over time, I just kept not ignoring it, but not knowing what to do with it, not realizing. I just thought it was another dream. We all have these dreams that we say, oh, this person may have come in, or this weird dreams are always strange. Yeah. And finally, in 2021, December, this is 20 years later, I found the family, the sisters that I also grew up with, but I never knew who or where they were because they were a bit younger than me. I had moved out of the town that we grew up in, and through my friend's Facebook, because I don't have any social media, so I'm like, how am I supposed to find these people? They don't live where we grew up any longer. Yeah. So I finally reached them, and I sent them this big long email telling them, like, I need to get in touch with you. I've got some messages here that I finally need to come through. And because they would come and go, it would be sometimes every few months, sometimes maybe a year later. And when it came in the last few years, around 2020, 2021, it was just coming in a lot more, a lot stronger. I would wake up emotional because of what was coming in. So I was speaking to my Reiki teacher, a good friend of mine. And I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. Like, this is getting a little bit much now. It's like, she's being determined about what I need to share. Thankfully, I'm glad I did this because I was very reluctant to share this, and because thinking of like what people are going to think of me, what they're going to think I'm, out to lunch by telling them this. And it was very well received. We're now good friends. The sisters and I are very close. We're in touch. A lot of the clarity came out. A lot of healing occurred from this. There was a lot of forgiveness. So one of the biggest messages was, and something I've realized that people who have passed over, is that anything that may be leftover residual or things that we don't forgive, they want us to forgive. We do have the ability to forgive, but we on this plane, I think, have a hard time doing so. When people have harmed us or done, harm to us, we don't easily forgive. So the message, one of the main theme was that she was fine. She was okay, to move on with life, to forgive what's occurred. And so that's where things changed.
Okay.
Yes, tarot, what happened was I was during the 2020, 2021, this whole pandemic time frame, I was sort of playing around with the tarot cards. I had a lot more time on my hands, and I was getting into this. I always had a tarot reader in my life. I've always had psychics. I've always been into this stuff.
Okay.
And I started offering free readings. So I put an ad online, free readings, because I wanted to get in touch with complete strangers.
Yeah.
People that I didn't know at all. And I started getting callbacks. So the free readings turned into, hey, would you mind doing another reading for me? Because what you were mentioning has happened, or how do you know this over the phone, or whatever this was.
So before we get really in depth in tarot reading, there's a couple of questions I know people are going to be asking. They're going to be writing in the comments or they're going to email us and be like, hey, first thing is, I guess the first question is, when did you find out it was a passed away friend, like, that was reaching out to you?
Okay.
Because I know people are going to be asking us.
Okay. So I knew she passed away because of the circumstances. So it was something that was, I won't get into those details, but it was a bit of a tragedy that took place. And I visually saw her in my dreams.
Okay. So
it was a visual of her. There was certain characteristics that were undeniable of what took place that I could visually see.
Okay.
And the conversations would take place. Like, I kept saying in the dream, I would be like, this is weird. I didn't know I was dreaming. Like, you're in a dream, you think, I just knew. I said, like, you're not even alive. Like, what are you here for? What do you talk? How are you okay? How are you fine? So I knew, based on her presenting herself as a 21, 22, it was around that age group or age range. So she would present at that age for all the years up until I told the family, then it kind of changed.
Okay. So that's pretty good that, like, and they say, like, a lot of people I follow and read books on, there's one called Seth Speaks. That's a really good book. But they say, like, the awakening time and the dream states are pretty much both reality.
Yes.
And they're both as real as we are, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. As we are right now. So yeah, that's cool that I guess the second question I know people are going to ask is, there's a lot of people that might not understand what tarot reading is. So what's the basics of tarot?
So
reading?
tarot has major arcana, minor arcanas in the deck. Each card represents different characters, different emotions, events maybe, or archetypes even. There's cards like the Emperor, the Empress. There's archetypal cards. And the tarot basically is just a tool. So I use it as a tool. Sometimes I can pick up things from people that I've met without even using many cards, or just talking to them. I can feel things. So my intuition is quite in touch. And the tarot just kind of helps us to unveil or unravel a storyline that the person that we're reading. I really do trust in listening to spirit. I always ask and do a meditation on my spirit guides, as well as the people who have passed away, such as my friend, just to say, hey, use me as a channel. Like, give me as much psychic clarity, as much vision or words or imagery. Give me what you can and use me today to channeling for the highest good of the person I'm reading. So the tarot is from, I think, the 15th century, originated in Italy, and sort of has developed over time. So the decks now are much more modern, and they're not as traditional as like the Rider-Waite tarot decks. but they all have 76 cards. Is that correct? Yes. And so they kind of just, you can get all kinds of tarot. You can get a traditional tarot deck. You can get a tarot deck based on witches or whatever. I personally use, for any listeners that are interested in what I use the Gilded series or the Gilded Royal deck. That's my favorite deck. I've always used that. I actually don't really prefer the traditional Rider-Waite decks. They're great, but I just have read, when you find a deck you like, it'll speak to you.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is like the deck will speak to you, and I feel spirit speaks to us, gives us messages, and then we can share that with the person that we're reading.
Awesome. Yeah. Sorry about that, but thanks again for answering that. So I guess this whole journey started with like a healing journey for you, and
huge.
And then from there, it moved on to a full-time career.
Tarot, yeah. So prior to tarot, I went through a massive healing myself, which I'll kind of come back and forth from past and present, because when I told the family, which I specifically recall the day, it was December 17th. I called both sisters. We had a long conversation, and I went through my own spontaneous healing, miraculous healings. Also my mom as well, who healed the day that I was telling the sisters this story about their loved one who passed away. My mom was trying to call me at the exact same time. She must have tried calling a few times, and I kept hitting the off button because I was talking to them. Yeah. And she was dealing with late stage cancer and had healing. I feel as though I was blessed in a way. But prior to all of this taking place, I had dealt with 10 years of major health issues, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's diagnosis, losing a ton of weight, being in hospitals. I've probably been in hospitals each time used to be around 9-10 days at a time. Wow. Blood transfusions. I was very unwell. I went through a lot of struggles with my health, which was in a way unexpected, because at 32 is when I was diagnosed. I was working for a health company. I was a beacon of health. I was a representation of a healthy guy. And all of a sudden, bam, I have this crazy autoimmune condition. I was told by all the doctors, this is incurable. You need to be on medications. We need to operate and remove your colon. It's late. Wow. It's bad, blah, blah, blah. Which I haven't done any of that. So, my healing was a very up and down journey, but it really forced me to embrace my spirituality and to trust. One of the things I say is that always trust your gut. Always listen to your higher self. Yeah. Listen to your intuition on things. I knew I grew up on an organic farm. I'm a holistic nutritionist with my background in training. And so that was the irony of all this, is a holistic nutritionist who's got this severe digestive illness. But I also knew that I wasn't going to follow the traditional medical approach. It did help me. There are things for sure. Hospitals and certain medications helped me through this, but I knew deep down inside that I was going to heal this some way, somehow. But along that journey, I had a lot of experiences. As we were talking earlier, Mike, I mentioned archangels, which we can talk about. Just different modalities. I tried everything under the sun. And then all of a sudden it was okay, you're done with this. And it moved me into my new path and now I'm in tarot. It just transitioned very naturally, I guess, into this new place in my life where I left an old life behind and moved into being into the tarot spiritual realm full time.
That's awesome. So, because it's the universe preparing you. I believe it's the universe preparing you. with all his power to be like, this is where you need to go. So in order to achieve that, I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
And then it flipped you into, and I say the same thing to our audience all the time. Trust the gut, trust the small voice you feel, or your higher self.
100%.
And just go with it, because you can never go wrong. Like, I'm going from, like, this podcast, I don't know if I mentioned it to you before, started as a business podcast. Like, hey, I was taught I was going to be dumb and stupid by my peers and my educators in Quebec, and I was non-applicable. They put me on a program called NA, non-applicable. It's not even a joke. If I failed anything, it was NA, and they were pushing me away. And they're just like, you're useless, right? And then I started this podcast going like, hey, I became successful. I took that negative energy and motivated me, maybe not the right way, but to prove them wrong, because they ticked me off. And now it's getting to the point where I found, and I'm going through my journey from like learning about meditations and spirituality. Like I knew about tarot reading because, like I mentioned to you before, we had that girl in high school who'd be like, hey, you want me to read your card? And I was like, oh boy, here we go. Calm down, Susie. But actually having a real experience, I was taken back like, oh, it's not what you see on the movies or the TV shows, how they make it look like some crazy. It's real. Like, this is real energy and that you're tapping into. And it amazes me that the universe got you from there to bringing you into what you do now for tarot reading.
Mm-hmm. And I think some people have a misconception as well. Like, it's not, some people who have never done it, where I work now, we get a lot of walk-in. It's a retail space. And some people are like, oh, I'm afraid, or I'm not sure what you're going to tell me. Tarot is not here to cause damage. You're here to come from a place of good intention, and you're here to share a message with a person using your intuition and feeling out the energies that you get for the highest good. I always do a meditation beforehand to protect my energy, protect the person's energy, and to always ask spirit. It's a path. So tarot is like the hero's journey or the fool's journey, the fool card being the first card of the deck. So it's really your spiritual path, your journey in life. So I always try to come from a place of helpfulness, healing, guidance, clarity. It's not fortune telling, although, people come back and say, hey, you told me something about this person that totally happened, or financial outcomes of something, or a decision that I made was helpful. But it's really there to help a person along their path. It's just a tool. It's another way to exchange energy with someone else who's kind of tapping in.
So like, when was your turning point, or the point where you're like, okay, fine, I'll surrender. I'll do the tarot reading and see where it goes. And then you realize, holy smokes.
Yeah.
I have a gift, or the universe is really channeling through me to do this.
Yeah, it's showing you. I think for sure a few things took place. So I was playing around with it. I was watching a lot of it on YouTube because I was so curious, going through different relationships and different scenarios in life. I'm like, I wonder what these tarot readers can show me. I didn't even know there was a tarot, like a community on YouTube. It was a neighbor of mine who sent me this video, and she's like, check out this tarot reading and check out the Aquarius, because I'm Aquarius. And then I kind of got addicted to it. I was watching tarot, and I was thinking to myself, I could probably do something like this online. But at the time, I was a little too hesitant about, our self-confidence and how am I going to do this. When it took off for me was, as I was saying, I did a few free readings. It was very casual, doing it with friends or acquaintances that I didn't really know too well. It's very difficult for me to even read myself, but there was a contest. So I have to owe it. Can I share another YouTube channel on your channel?
Yeah,
because I will give her a shout out as well. So Tarot Time with Dana. She was one of the readers I used to follow, and she had this contest. It was called Read the Reader. So I was like talking to a friend of mine. I was visiting a friend for a weekend, and I was like, hey, what have I got to lose? I might as well just send her a video and read her. I know nothing about her. Yeah. I just follow her on YouTube, but I know nothing about her. I thought, I'll just enter her contest. Let's see what happens. What can go wrong? And sure enough, I was one of the top 3 winners. So that's where my YouTube channel, which is Blue Mountains Tarot, came about, because I have no social media. I am not a social media guy. She was like, hey, you won. You did a great job reading me. what's your handles? What's your social media? And I didn't have any social media. I was like, I guess my idea that I had in my head of like, hey, I could open up a YouTube channel. This happened. So again, it's something that I was kind of thrown into. I didn't really have much say because she's like, I'm going to announce this in the next 2 or 3 days. So I'm scrambling, getting a channel put together. And then that's sort of the beginning of my tarot YouTube channel was a big learning curve because I didn't feel the confidence I didn't really feel like I was necessarily prepared to do that. So in the meantime, I went to this store in my neighborhood and I was like, hey, can I give you a reading to the owner? At first I was refused or she didn't really follow up. Then I came back, I was getting a little persistent and I was like, I'd like to do a reading for you. And she hired me on the spot. The same thing occurred with the Corriveau store in town.
Yeah.
I read for Linda and I was given a referral from a friend to who connected us. And I read for her whole staff that day. Wow. And she hired me on the spot as well. So it just sort of happened. It just, again, I really emphasize meditation every day. The one thing that tarot has brought in my life is it's kind of enforced that I meditate every day before I meet with people. And then it's just been growing from there. So word of mouth. Tarot is a word of mouth business. I have no social media except for YouTube, which I'm kind of starting to expose more to my local community. But it's just word of mouth.
And on your YouTube channel, do you do like general readings for the public and for people?
Yeah, I do general reads, love readings. Love readings are very popular on YouTube. Again, anyone who's read with me, they know it's a very different experience in person versus my YouTube channel because YouTube is a general read, so it's going to resonate for some. Other people it may not have no resonation, doesn't resonate at all for them. So love readings, general readings. I'll do like full moon readings or just certain times of the year where I feel like reading the energy or the collective. Again, they're very generalized, but I always get fairly good feedback.
So if somebody wants to reach out to you, so you do local, you mentioned the Awaken Spiritual Store in Collingwood,
yes,
which will have links to everything we mentioned just down below in the description. So people can go out there if they're local in Collingwood area and book an appointment and just ask for Alex.
Yes.
And then they'll book you accordingly. Also, they can contact you with your email that we'll have below as well, which is bluemountaintarot@gmail.com.
Blue Mountains with an S.
Blue Mountains, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Blue Mountains with an S, bluemountaintarot@gmail.com. And then that's where I also get a lot of my international clients from YouTube. So even though my channel is very, very small, I've just been growing it. It's only a couple of years old, not even. People reach out to me from all over the world that I'll do a Zoom reading with.
Okay, so that was my next question is, so let's say people that are listening right now are not local. They could be out west in Alberta. They could be in California. They could be in Hawaii, anywhere in the world. If somebody wants to reach out to you, they just send you an email, and then you can make an appointment.
Yes. We'll do a Zoom live reading. So it's interactive. Typically, it's 30-minute readings. Or if they want more, we can, usually it's a 30-minute reading on Zoom.
So if there's anybody listening, chances are we're going to have people that don't understand what we're talking about. But how can you possibly, which like I mentioned to everybody like the energy is everywhere and it's instantaneous. But there'll be some questions again being, if I'm all the way in Hawaii and you're all the way in Canada, would the energy still reach me? And I would 100%. Say yes.
Yeah, 100%. Ideally, I would say an in-person reading is the best experience because you're live with that, at least for me. So, I mean, I've had psychic readings over the phone. No one sees anything. It's just a phone call from other psychic readers or tarot readers. For sure, energy is all around us. Spirit is all around us. In-person readings, I feel, are my best or my favorite. I prefer them, but I do a lot of Zoom readings. So we visually see each other. And for people who do understand tarot, the cards are speaking to us. And then also we're using our own intuition. We're using energies that we're picking up off of the cards, but also off the person. And so, especially if I've met a person or I have a photo of a person, I try to envision my energy in their energetic field and see what comes in. So that's another kind of thing that I've been growing, and it's evolving and changing. Is, let's say I read for you again, Mike. I'm going to actually, now that I know what you look like, we've read for each other before, I'm going to actually like do a meditation specifically on you and your energy, and see what kind of either images, messages, things come up. They don't make sense to me. 99% of the time, it makes no sense to me what I'm getting. But I always share it to a person that I'm reading with to say, hey, I got this random image. All right, what does this mean to you? What is this? Does this make any sense to you? And usually it's like, yes. I'll pick up locations sometimes. So it could be anything. But for sure, we can still interact and use our intuition on a Zoom call that's halfway across the world.
And it's funny that you mentioned that you get a location, because I remember you're like, I normally don't do this, but I feel like there's something for you in Europe or something like that.
Okay.
And you mentioned that. I was just like, because I've been toying, because my brother is up in Latvia.
Oh, okay.
And I've been toying and going to Europe with the whole family and go do like while we're there, show my kids Europe, like a totally different world from what they're used to in this part of the country.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll get like a hit. So I don't call myself a psychic reader. I just stick to, I'm an intuitive tarot reader. But I have had some psychic hits, as I call them, where it's like I'm telling somebody, I had a lady actually from Corriveau store, the business there, where I was like, Paris is calling you. And she's like, yes, 100%. Or I've picked out locations or things, people's names as well. So randomly, even a name that I was reading for a girl once, it was French. I'm like, I don't speak French, but it's a French name. It's coming through, and this is what it is. And it happened to be her mother's great-grandfather's father, great-grandfather, grandfather. Regardless, it was like, I'll get these psychic hits, or I'll get a word or somewhat the message coming in with a loud, like, Hawaii or whatever the location is, whatever the name is, or something like that, of that nature.
Okay. And like, I know what I recommend. First off, I recommend to anybody. Like, I didn't know much about tarot reading. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm getting more and more. It's not my area of expertise. Yeah. That's why I'm not asking too many hard questions, because I don't know. And like, I'm open to learning anything spirituality wise. Yeah. And like, when we had our reading, I was like, I want to do this. I feel the universe telling me I have to do it. So I did it.
Yeah. And then it was very spontaneous when we met.
Yeah. Yep. And it was amazing that you really confirmed a lot of things. I'm like, and you were like, it's never really happened before where I get all these cards. And it's pretty much to do that. Like, you're really financially set. There's financial coming your way, and there's more. And then I was just like, yeah, because like I recently figured out how to tap into like the frequency of money, that I'm not worried about money anymore. I'm not chasing it anymore. I just feel the flow, and I just know it's there, and I don't really care. And I try to get my audience in on that. But I do recommend, if you're listening to this podcast and like, oh, this sounds crazy or witchcraft, right? It's really not. It's not what the way they perceive it in movies or cartoons or TV shows.
Not at all.
It's really, I really felt like it was for me what you're talking to, and there's things that I needed affirmations on, or
confirmation.
Confirmation is the word.
That's often the case. Like, sometimes a reading, again, if it's just a lot of the time it's the energy that's taking place in a person's recent past, present, or recent future. Sometimes they're like, this doesn't make sense, or this part, and I'll be like, just keep that in your back pocket, and then it may occur in the future. And I've seen that come back a lot to me. Usually I have like a 6-month kind of a circle. I make a circle. So 6 months around you, past, present, future. And a lot of the time it's things that people already know. I'm just picking all this up on them. So it's, again, we're not necessarily fortune tellers saying you're going to have this, that, the other. Sometimes it has those components to it, but oftentimes it's confirmation, affirmations, assurances, or it just gives somebody clarity on something that they're going through. And this might help provide clarity, or it can show them the pros and cons, or the differences, or it depends. Each tarot reading is so different This is the crazy thing with tarot, where it is so different with every person. The difficult part being a reader is sometimes I don't even understand why these situations are occurring. It's like beyond my own reality, but I have to trust in what I'm getting. That's another thing that I've realized, like just trust what I'm getting and say it. You know, I've had things where it's like, I had a lady where it's like a violent occurrence happened. And I was like, has this ever happened to you? And she's like, yes. But I was like, this is intense, like violence and, you know, weapons. And she's like, yeah, that's occurred. So it's trusting in what I'm feeling and receiving, to, as long as I try to deliver it in as, you know, gentle or positive ways as I can. Yeah. But,
and do you ever find like, I don't know, like I always had questions for people that I've seen on TV or movies, be like, how do you separate what you want to say to what is coming through? Like, how do you separate your mind? Oops, hit the mic. How do you separate your mind from, I guess, the flow of the energy? Like, how do you put yourself aside?
Yeah, and that's sometimes a challenge. So my meditations really kind of set the tone. My Reiki, my friend, my good friend, I always say she's my Reiki teacher, but she is. We've had a lot of healing, and she's been a huge impact in my life. But she always, like, I'll go into a reading. Let's say someone comes to me and they're like, it's another tarot reader or a psychic, and I'm like, oh geez, right? It's like, that's a challenging when someone's like, I know the tarot inside out, read me. And it's just like, whoa. But she'll, you know, sometimes I call her and I'm like, I feel nervous today for reading somebody. And she always says, like, just listen to what you're being channeled or what you're given. It is sometimes a challenging thing, which is why I might have a difficulty reading myself. I cannot read myself because my own mind is getting in the way. Or somebody, let's say, like my best friend, I know way too much that it's hard for me to separate bias. Okay. But when it comes to strangers, I'll always just say, like, if I'm getting something, it's not from my thought, because I know that it would come out of nowhere. So the thing is I'm not really thinking when I'm reading. I'm not thinking about my life, my stresses, my circumstances. Like, I'm not thinking about my everyday as if I were, you know, walking around. I'm really focusing on the cards and what's coming in. So I just trust. And I've learned that over time to trust what I'm feeling or receiving and ask the question. I'm not, there's no 100% guarantee either. So you could be, it could be off, but it might show up in the future for that person. But I'll always share what I'm getting and just trust, because I'm not, what's the harm? Okay, yeah. I'm wrong. Okay, well, I have one inaccurate reading. So be it. I couldn't read that person. Yeah, you know, so I just trust.
It's a two-way streak, right?
It is very much like a two-way street.
If somebody comes in closed-minded, closes the door to their soul, to their heart, it's going to be really hard. Like, have you ever had somebody come in and they're like, hey, you know, I want to do a reading and then whatever, and you just felt their energy was totally in the wrong place, and you just be like, no, you're not ready at this time? Or?
I always tell everybody what I've realized and learned is, like, there's no judgment in this reading. So I'll tell everybody, there's no judgment. It doesn't matter what is going on in your life, positive, negative. It has nothing to do with me. So, because I can tell when someone is very open, and I always tell them, like, be as open as you can with the least amount of resistance. You'll have a more successful reading. If you're going to a reader to, like, shut down and see what they can and test them, what would be the point? Yeah. Right. It's about being honest. It's about being open. They don't have to say anything. They don't have to say much. The point is for me to share the story with them and maybe verify a few points here and there. But for sure, some people have resisted, and it's funny sometimes. Again, this is where I've learned trust what I'm getting, because somebody will say, I'll give a random example. You know, they're having an affair. There's another person involved in their relationship, and they're like, no, there's not. And I'm like, okay, let's flip a few more cards and get some clarity. And it's like, really? Is there not? You know, I don't care. I'm not going to say anything here. It's private. Yeah. And then they confess. So they're like, yeah, okay, fine. I have a second person on the side, or I have whatever. It doesn't have to be a person. It could be anything in life where someone's like, yes, it is taking place. So I've had skeptics come in. I would say men can tend to be a bit more resistant. Because we're maybe it's just the nature. I don't know. We're not maybe as in touch with our divine feminine and that emotional side. Not everybody, obviously, but I would say there's just as many resistant females as there are males. But some males are like, what is this? Like their wife will get them to come in and do a reading, and it's the wife that wants it, but the guys are like, no, this is not me. And then they're like, oh, they're amazed by what comes out and what has happened. I've gotten a lot of males to give me big hugs and sometimes shed tears because of the message that comes through or the healing that occurs during the reading. So I do encounter people who resist. So back to your question of do they? Yes, they do. But I try to make it as comfortable and warm as possible for them to be as open as they can. And some people, we have to respect that because they've had traumas of their own, or they've got their own things that even they don't want to express or expose, or they feel vulnerable to. So sometimes it's natural that we hold back on our privacy, or we hold back on what we want them to know about us. So again, I just chalk it up to being a reading that, okay, that was a bit of a tough one, but the energy wasn't flowing.
Yes, because it does take a toll on you, like your energy field that you're depleting as you do readings. So do you add a limit to your day-to-day reading? Like, do you like, okay, this is my limit because it's just draining me and I need to?
Yeah, I have to be careful of that because naturally I want to give, and I kind of push myself in life in general. I'm a bit A-type. So I tend to overdo myself at times. But yes, my limit, I say, like I do parties as well. So I'll do like bachelorette parties, birthday parties, cottages and things like that. People have me. My day is like a 5 to 6 person, and then I start to tap out. I just get exhausted and drained. So I do require a lot of rest and downtime and a very like a non-chaotic life, because if there's a lot of stress in my life, I won't be able to be connecting the way I'd like to if I'm not stressed. So I have to be, it's kind of conducive as well to my lifestyle and how I live my life in order to be open for the energy to flow to that person. So rest is really big for me.
Yeah, because like I remember we've been trying to get together for a while. It's just either I'm out of town or you're busy and you're booked through. Like, I'm glad I got you in here.
Yeah. So it has been very busy for me. It keeps growing. And this is the surprise. I did not know. I thought it was starting off as a hobby. And I was one day a week at this store that I went and approached. I had the odd client here and there, friendship or whatever, but it started going from 1 day to 2 days. And I'm now... It's every day. I could do every day almost if I wanted to. So
when was the time that you decided to just surrender to the experience and start flowing and let it happen to you instead of trying to be like, well, I don't know what I need to do. Like, where should I do? And you just, surrendered into it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Or did you have that moment?
I did. Like I was going through a big transition of my own. So my background being holistic nutritionist, I was already consulting with a lot of people one-on-one. As a holistic nutritionist, we don't look just at your nutrition. We look at the whole person as a whole, as a spiritual, physical, emotional, mental being. So I was already working in the field of like intuitively looking, listening, working with clients to help them heal. I kind of said, hey, I guess I'm going down this path because I was getting a lot of hugs. I was getting a lot of thank yous. I was getting a lot of repeat customers. I was getting referrals. And I started to realize a person actually told me, they said, and I didn't want to do, I was kind of transitioning out of being holistic nutrition and consulting with people. I was just sort of no longer, it wasn't a fit for me anymore. I still do it here and there, but it was just the natural progression of success coming through my tarot. And it was just like people were bringing in friends and family members and parties. And I was like, okay, well, I guess my schedule's filling up. So I guess this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And here I am. It just slowly but surely it took off, and it has these little waves of like moving forward in busy moments. As you know, we haven't been able to get in touch for 3 months just because our schedules, I keep filling up. So it just, it wasn't really a surrender. It was more of just like, okay, I'm going to welcome this in. I guess this is what I'm supposed to do. It was difficult at times because some people don't even know I do this. It's a little bit weird for family and things that they're like, well, where'd this come from? It's not something that I was like, I think I'll just take it up and I'll just become a tarot reader. It happened. It occurred to me. It just came into my life and it moved me through. So
it's like your calling.
It was meant to. Yeah, it was a calling at the end. And it was also when I came forward with this message from my friend who had passed away to her family, my whole life healed. So I was meant to kind of go through this health issue and struggle in order to really persist on my spiritual path and really trust. Again, it's that trusting in spirit, trusting in your higher power, believing that everything happens for a reason in this lifetime and everything is here for your growth, for your highest good. You have to go through some painful times or some tough times, but they're meant for the bigger outcome of yourself. They're meant to help other people in the end. So I really feel like I was just brought to this. It's just something that happened. I didn't even anticipate. Your guess is as good as mine.
Right? It's like when we're younger, we're told, map out your whole life, what you're going to do, your career. And we do that. And then we try to follow it. And then the more you follow it, the more harder it seems. But then when you just let go and be like, okay, what should I be doing? Well, now you're doing tarot reading cards.
Yeah.
I'm running a podcast, a spiritual podcast that I never thought I'd do about meditation, self-healing, self-motivation, and stuff like that. And it seems like it's morphing into the calling that I'm thinking it's morphing into is becoming a, what did my sister call it? Like a motivational coach or mind coach, life coach, stuff like that. It seems like it's morphing into that, and there's opportunity where that's going to end up happening. But I'm just not going to plan on it. I'm just going to let it be, and see what happens. And like in your case, and now you know your calling, you're helping people, and you seem to be the type, and you mentioned many times that you just want to help people. That's why you got into holistic medicine.
Yeah, it's just something. It's interesting because one of the things that happened when I was going through this big transition, so I went through a lot of ups and downs in health. So I'd be good one month, not healthy the next, and great one month, horrible the next. So I was also trying to move on from being a holistic nutritionist. And I woke up one day and I got two messages. One of them was inherent abundance and self-created abundance. I did not know where I was going to be, where I was going to end up, what was going to change in my life. I left a big city. So I was living in Toronto, Canada. Grew up like from 20 on, I went to school there and built this life around finance and all that. I had to move. I had to move up north to the quiet, to the solitude, because my health was telling me otherwise. So I had to listen. So a big transition took place where I was like, I'm just going to surrender. I don't know what's in store for me, but I have to just let it go, and something's going to show up. I don't know how or what. I did not want to work for corporate companies anymore. I didn't want to work for minimum wage. I didn't want to do things that just because they were jobs, or even if I was good at it. Like I was, considering property management and all these other things that I do on the side as part of life. But it just came into my life and it showed up. And it started off, like I said, this I walk into a store one day a week. You can come in, you can keep all the money that you earn. And then she offered me a job. And then she offered me 2 days, and then 3 days, and then 4 days, and then the readings kept flowing in. So I go back to that statement of self-created abundance, because when I was playing around with the tarot cards, I was sort of saying, I'm going to do something with this. I'm going to make something of this time frame that I have during this pandemic and this time that everyone is just, either you're going to use it wisely or you're going to use it to deal with this stuff that's going on. I was like, I'm going to take this time frame and I'm going to make something of my life. I'm going to create a change. Yeah. And I was like, as a hobby, let me just play around with tarot. I want to read people. And it was just like this natural evolution, but it was something where I was like, I'm being guided, and maybe this is this message of self-created abundance. And it's kind of how I feel I did. I just sort of took my enjoyment and my curiosity around tarot and really opened up my intuition. One of the things that the message that my friend gave me at the very end, because we were like, why did she choose me? Why did she come through me? Why not her own sisters? Why not her close friends? Because we were not close friends after elementary school. You go your own way.
Yeah.
And she said, the next day, literally, she came into my dream and she said, I came through you because you were the only open conduit. She used that word.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I'm going to listen to that in life and be an open conduit, be an open channel, and just follow your heart, follow what you're being guided to, listen to your gut. And I just kind of did.
Yeah.
It was really just an epiphany, an epiphany, but like, it was just like this thing that happened to me.
And then it changed your life forever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a totally different. I didn't realize how lucrative, or in a sense, how busy this would be. I just thought it was a hobby. I just thought, I'll read some friends, freak them out, it'll be fun. I'll blow away their neighbors or whatever and just see what they think, that I know things or that I'm feeling things. And then it just happened to be like, I did not realize how big the tarot community is. It's huge.
It's bigger than a lot of people think.
Yeah,
it's not
the
just
spiritual community, right? Yeah. It's all part of the spiritual community. It's an aspect of it. So it's big and it's growing. So
in your journey, I know we talked before, and you're mentioning that you have, you've not had acquaintances, but you had experiences with archangels, and you mentioned it in this podcast too, earlier on. So if you want to tell us a bit of your experience and how that came about.
Yeah, for sure. Another example where I was dealing with health. It was 2013, if I'm not mistaken. It was the spring of 2013. In addition to having ulcerative colitis and like Crohn's, they're interchangeable, but I also had 3 herniated discs in my back. I was a mess. I was told on that level as well, like the inflammation is so bad, we're going to have to operate. We have to fuse your spine or whatever, cut out these hernias. And again, I refused. I was like, I'm not doing this. I did a lot of natural healing. But during this time frame, I was so paralyzed, I guess. I was literally, no word of a lie, lying on my parents' floor for 3 months on like a little cushion, like a futon, because my back was so bad. I couldn't walk upright without 2 canes and screaming and taking a lot of Tylenols and things like that. I remember talking to a good friend of mine at the time, and I was like, this is crazy. This is out of hand now. Like now now I'm completely out of commission. I don't know what I'm going to do. I just give up basically. But instead of saying the word give up, he's like, Alex, just pray to the archangels and ask for a miraculous divine healing. He's like, you got nothing else here. He's like, this is the path you want to go down. You don't, operations and medications were not an option for me. So I basically was like, okay, that night I was like, I surrender. I don't care. I could die on this floor. I was at the point where I was like, whatever, this is what it is. I'm not going to hang on to my finances, my money, my job, how I'm going to pay for my bills. I was like, I'm handing this over to you, higher power. And I called in all the archangels, Archangel Raphael, Archangel Michael. I said, please come in and heal my body somehow, some way. I need a miracle here. I don't know what else to do. So ironically enough, my mom, this is where I meet my friend Marguerite, who's my Reiki teacher, one of my best friends. I had never met her before. My mom's like, hey, I have a friend who does Reiki. Do you know what this is? What do you think of it? I was like, yes, I've had all kinds of Reiki in the past. I've done all kinds of these types of modalities. I was like, bring her over, right? So the next day, I'm just meeting her for the first time. I know nothing about her, vice versa. And she's doing her Reiki energy work on me. And she has this breakdown. She's like, I can't, I'm overwhelmed. You're going to think I'm nuts, Alex, but the archangels are in the room with you right now, healing your body. And I was like, okay, look at my phone. I said, look at the text that I literally just last night, my friend texted me like, here's the archangels that you're going to pray to. And I'm like, here's the proof. And she was like, and she just said, like, the Father, the higher power, you're being healed. Shortly after that, I also went to a healing room where they kind of prayed with me. So it was within like a week. So I don't know the sequence of what came first, but I do know that after she said that, I was like, okay, prayer's being answered here. This is legit. Like things are, this is for real. This is where I have to surrender and trust in my higher power and trust in, I wasn't really versed or necessarily archangels were not my go-to per se. I just always surrendered to the higher power.
Yeah. In
this case, she was like, archangels are here. Wow. They're healing. She was bawling because she's like, I can't, I'm overwhelmed. Within a day or few days, I had gone to this healing room, walking in with 2 canes, hunched over, leaning on a chair. I couldn't even stand where they were trying to pray around me, like in a circle. And my sister's driving me home. I'm in like, the car seats are reclined. I'm in a lie down as much as I could because I couldn't sit up. And I felt my whole right side, which was where the herniated discs were on the right side of my back, freezing cold and like shattering, like ice feeling, like cracking. And I was like, something's going on here because I can feel it. And then I went home that night. I slept. I told my mom, do not wake me up. I'm extremely tired. It was like 5 o'clock in the evening. Went to bed, woke up the next day and walked up the stairs.
Huh. Just
like that.
Wow.
I wasn't 100% healed, but it was to the point where I was like, I just have an ache in my back now. And I did a bit of acupuncture, a chiropractor massage, things like that to kind of finish off the remaining healing. But I literally had like a miraculous healing within like that week. So that's my experience with the archangels. And I have used those oracle cards. So oracle healing cards in some of my readings. Archangels were, oddly enough, a deck that I had sitting around for about 20 years who a friend gave them to me. And I never did anything with them. And then I was using the archangel oracle cards as part of my readings as well, which people will know that on my YouTube channel. So that's my experience with archangels. And I always ask them every time I meditate, all the angels, all my spirit guides, my friend in the other side, and the archangels to come in today and hopefully bring as much clarity and healing as possible. That's awesome. So I fully believe in that.
That's amazing, man. I appreciate you telling us that story.
Yeah,
that's amazing. And like, I guess the question would be, what would you want to tell people that feel in their heart and that little voice or their higher power just nudging them to get a reading done or nudging them to learn more about the spiritual community we've been talking about?
Well, first, I would say listen to yourself first, because there's also the idea that some people get dependent upon a reader. And I've turned people away because I'm like, you have to make decisions here. You have to feel your intuition. So if you feel like you've had a curiosity, try it out. There's nothing to lose. If it resonates, great. If it doesn't, it was just another experience. But I always suggest to people, recommend to experience and exercise as many modalities of healing as you can, whether it's a Reiki session, a tarot healing, a nutritionist, a naturopath, whatever modality you can experience, try it, because you may just have a miracle. You might just have one little thing that takes you further up your healing ladder. And a lot of people are just looking for guidance, but I've also recognized where a lot of people just don't know how, or they don't even trust their own intuition or their own higher voices or higher self. They're just afraid, or they don't know how to tap in or how to meditate or how to trust. So a tarot reading can kind of verify and bring that to the surface. So yeah, I would just tell people, if you want to try it, great. Let's see what can come through. Sometimes it's just for fun.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just for fun. And I always say for fun and for free if it's just casual, but not to put resistance up to something, especially, and feel out the reader that you're with. So I think in the past it has maybe a bad rap because of the misuse of tarot and, the misconceptions from the media or the movies and stuff, where it's like some fortune telling. And some people are highly psychic and can pick things out. But I think it's about feeling the person that you're with and gaining that sense of trust, because there are people who I read really, really well with, they come in very, very strong. And other people, it's not always as strong, the energies. And sometimes I say, maybe this is all that spirit wants you to know for now, or maybe this is not your time to get all the answers. It's for you to find that, or for you to experience. So tarot, some people come in, it's going to tell you what is necessary or what is for your highest good. So for some people, it's surprising. For others, it's like they expect more. It kind of,
like
either way.
The people have to be open-minded in order to open their heart. The main thing for anybody who wants to try tarot or get into meditations or anything spirituality is you have to be open-minded. You have to open your heart and your soul because like I mentioned a lot on my podcast, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yes.
He's an amazing guy. And it's funny, his journey started with him trying to prove a lot of things were not like hogwash, right?
Yeah.
And then he was having all these experiences and these truths where he was healing people by them allowing healing to enter their heart and open their heart. And he calls it like blowing open your heart or stuff like that. I'm yet to go to one of his lives, but I'm planning on it this year for a week. But yeah, like people that are really ready to find out where their journey's taken them, they have to just be open and listen to the voice. And when you have an instance where I was not planning on going to Corriveau that day, it was more of I got to go now, because in the back of my mind I'm like, I got to go talk to Linda because she has a salt cave and I think that's cool. I want to talk to her about it and stuff, to the point to where it's like, no, I need to go now. So I was just in the office. I'm like, okay, I'm going. I'll be back in a bit.
Listening to where you need to be.
Yeah.
And then open that you were, because we met in crossing.
Yeah. You happened to be there.
Putting your shoes on to leave. And then we just met and it's like, hey, do you want to do a reading? So it's just being open.
And it was a good experience. Like I highlight everybody to go ahead and do this. And if you think like, oh, I feel like I should go I feel like I should reach out to Alex, but any reason, no, nothing bad could happen. It's not like the movies where they flip over a card and they're like,
death card.
Watch out for the truck.
Well, and people see like the death card, and it's actually, I always tell people very, very few times, for instance, when the death card shows up, people are like, oh my God, right? But it's actually a card of transformation. It's actually the death and rebirth. So it's a card of change. It's a card of transformation and growth. Very, very few times. Like I would say 2 or 3 times out of, let's say, 100 people, I've said, hey, I think you've had some loss here. Like the death card literally being a loss of a person or a partner or whatever. But it's all dependent on the surrounding cards. And even that can be healing, because I've had readings where the death card shows up in an instance where I knew someone was a widow. They had loss, but it was to enlighten them and to inspire them and let them know it's okay to move forward. It's okay to invite another person into your life to share the next half of your life or the next with someone new. The person on the other side wants you to. They want you to be happy. They want you to be with somebody or have love. So some people, they didn't even realize I was going to pick that up. And by me just knowing what I know from channeling somebody, I can truthfully, honestly say, like, the people on their side do not want you to feel guilty because you've somehow met someone else in your life. And it's like, can I do this? Am I betraying my ex that's passed away or something? And it's, so being open, and then you may be surprised as to what inspiration comes through the cards. But, a lot of it is, it's like you said, it's not bad. It's transformative. Yeah. So it helps people to see, hey, I got a little bit of inspiration even today, or I got a little bit of confirmation, because Alex doesn't know who I am. And yet he's telling me, hey, there's another opportunity here. You might want to go and check it out. Yeah. Or, and they don't realize, because they're worried about other people. How, like you said, the programming at an early age, I was told to do this, go to this school, marry this person, and this whole chain of events that I had that too. Yeah. And then all of a sudden life's like, hey, you're on your back flat with sickness in a hospital. It's not going the way you thought it was. So
time to make a drastic change.
Make some change, because if you don't change, I'm going to change you. And that's what life and universe is going to do. It's like, if you keep putting resistance in your own life, let alone a tarot reading. If you're resistant to listening and following your path, and you just dread doing something or going down this path based on, family values or programming or societal expectations of you, something's going to switch its gear on you where it's going to show you a completely different path. And I really do believe now, looking back, the amount of illness and health issues and suffering I went through, it was for a purpose. And I knew this. I'm super thankful for getting colitis, because I wouldn't be here in this place. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't have moved to a small town up north. I wouldn't be doing tarot. I would never have done all the things I needed to endure, both good and bad, in order to arrive. Yeah. So all my illness and the healing was part of me. It was my path. Some people have different forms of pain or healing issues. Mine was through a physical health ailment, but it all happened for a reason. So I always tell people, do not resist what you want to do, because life is very short, as we know.
Yeah. As they say, YOLO, right?
Yeah.
And I always like to add that we know of, right? You only live once, that we know of.
That's true. Live once, maybe on this, maybe, yeah, there's reincarnation.
We don't know what happens.
There's
right?
the other side for sure. Yeah. So
there must be many, many journeys. I feel like I've lived, multiple lives, but like I had many journeys, and I feel like, on a side note, like, I connect with them, and like sometimes I have these crazy dreams. Like there's, for instance, this dream last night. I'm like, I had this dream before, but this time it was different. And like, I go into my dreams thinking like, okay, I'm going to the dream not as, dream fantasy world, right? I'm going in because there's messages for me.
Yes.
And the universe is going to talk to me, and I'm going to travel to maybe other dimensions, other realities. Mm-hmm. And I say this many times. Thank goodness for Avengers. People are like, what? Because they popularized, right?
Yeah.
They make it known so everybody knows, and and they accept the quantum field, or the time, that there's a lot of different alternate realities out there, mm-hmm. that it's open to the universes. You could think of it, chances are it's being done somewhere or something, but that the trick is communicating to yourselves through all those mm-hmm. different timelines. And it's not like crazy timelines where like, I'm a dinosaur in another timeline, you know? But I feel like it's good for the Avengers that they did that they're opening up the timelines. But like, and I like that you mentioned when the death card, everybody's like, because mainstream media is like, death card, he's coming for you.
Someone's
look for the Reaper, right? But no, it's meaning the old you is dying.
Exactly.
And the new you is being born and coming around. For me, I'm guarantee you that at the peak of my transformation, if I was to meet you then, that card would have popped up for stating the old you is moving on. This is the new you. This is the better you. This is the you that needs to be done. But it didn't happen that way. For me, it was more, I see butterflies everywhere. I'm like, why are there damn butterflies everywhere? Yeah. Metamorphosis. I'm changing. There's change.
Yeah. You're going from a cocoon into a flight, right? So
like, in closing, what would you want to tell people that are right now listening and they're like, you know what? I think I should, give them that extra little push to go do a tarot reading or look into more of the spiritual community, because like I mentioned in other podcasts, I'll be like, my sister, when she was younger, she's like, I'm going to go, she was dating this hippie looking guy with the glasses, long hair. And she's like, I'm going to go learn to meditate. I'm like, you dirty hippie. But now I am the dirty hippie.
Yeah, it's like that saying goes, like, you're not a human having a spiritual experience. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. So healing is bound to occur. This is what we're here for, is to go through things. And tarot is just one aspect. It's just something that, again, it's listening to our intuition and sharing intuition with other people as a reader. So it just shows the phenomena that how much we are connected and how much we can pick up off of a person we've never met in our life before. And the coincidences in life that take place, these are miracles. These are things that are taking place. Tarot is just a way of communicating and exchanging energy with another person. So like I said, I've had tarot readers where I connect deeply, and I've had tarot readers who are completely unaligned with me. Not to say they're not good at what they do. It just our energies didn't click.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad because I've gotten a lot of insight from. I had a tarot reader that I that might be another story we can talk about, but he passed away as well. And oddly enough, one of the coincidences, I just want to share this because it's not a coincidence really, it's a blessing. But he's from Montreal, like he's from 5 hours away, and he would come to Toronto. He passed away a few years ago. And all of a sudden I have this lady coming in. She's like, I'm so glad I met you, Alex, because my tarot reader passed away. And I was like, who's your tarot reader? And she's like, Pierre. And I was like, that's my tarot reader. And so I feel like these spirits, like my friend who passed away, I won't use names in her sake just for privacy of the family, but Pierre, I feel, has blessed me again because my friend, I feel, has blessed my life with tarot. And now I'm getting all of Pierre's clients, which is so crazy. So now she's like, hey, I used to live down the street at the house he would visit to do all these readings. And I've been going to Pierre for 10 years. He was my favorite. He was the tarot reader that got me. And he's since passed, but I feel like he's sitting there watching over saying, hey, I'm going to give you all my clients out because here you go. Here's another blessing. Yeah. So go see a tarot reader. There's nothing wrong with it. It's fun. It's enjoyable. Find one that matches with your energy. You might have a few. I have a few that I now refer to. I'm a hard guy to read, so I don't ever put that on the onus of the tarot reader. I just say, hey, it's either great or it's not, and that's okay. Yeah. You know? So yeah, if there's anything I can tell people in closing is that, number one, you have the ability to heal yourself. You truly have the ability to connect to source, to your healing. Healing does occur even when people are told it's not, when it's incurable. You need this, that, and the other. No, you actually can heal yourself very much if you trust and you have faith and you believe and you want to. So, and tarot is something that could maybe enlighten or inspire or shed some light on a situation that people are struggling with, and they just need. I kind of look at it as like it's a quick go-to person that you can connect with and say, hey, I'm going through this. What are you getting? What are you picking up? So it's just a little bit of a clarifier or guidance along the way, along your path, and to see if you're on the right path, or to see if you're, okay, yeah, I'm listening to my gut. That's exactly what I was thinking. And tarot shows that. Or, oh, wow, I never thought of it this way. And you showed me a different light. Or tarot showed us, hey, the spirit's saying, try this path maybe. Or open up to this. Have you ever thought of this? You know?
It's true. Like in talking, I feel like you're saying how it's like a tool, those are cards. And for me, it's like, yeah, it's a tool to bring spirits or spirituality into reality, into realness. Yes. Because we could sit down and talk, and I've had experiences where I just get information and I'm like, hey, I got to go talk to this guy real quick. Hold on. And I give them, they're like, oh, who the heck are you? Yeah. Right. But I mean, like, yeah, it's more real in the physical when you have the cards and they're like, this is the card you need, this, and you just pull them out. Yeah. And it's amazing to see how you do it too. Yeah.
I just ask, right? I trust, I ask, and I try to be as open as I can. But it's always fun when it's verifiable with the person you're sitting with. Yeah. Some people you could say, I'm picking this, and this up, and they're like, you're whacked. That makes no sense. When you sit down with, like when I sat down with this family, it's like, I would never know the things I knew based on the message. I described the inside of their house. Yeah. You know, it was messages. So it's really cool when someone can say, hey, I'm picking this up from you. And they're just like, wow. You know, it also helps us to open up. Yeah. Because someone pinpoints something that you think was a secret or that you think was something close to you. And then it's like, you're in a safe space that you can, I'm already picking it up. So it's not like you can lie or hide that because I've got it. It's coming through. Yeah. So it needs to be brought to the surface, or it needs to be resolved or forgiven. So a lot of times, again, forgiveness is a really big thing in healing and letting go of the past and also moving forward. So I feel like oftentimes when I do readings, forgiveness will show up in the feeling, in the vibe, in the energy, and it helps a person to let that go or to forgive even themselves. So, yeah.
Yeah. So for anybody who's listening is going through a healing journey at this time, like just know there's a huge community out there for you that can help you and that could guide you. And there's a lot of amazing people like Alex and throughout the world that can guide and help anybody that is willing to find and be receptive to the messages that are coming through.
Yeah, and you're expanding on your network. So, open up to as many people as you can, because I might have a referral. Like, I do holistic nutrition, and I've referred people who I can pick up right away. I'm like, you've got this issue going on. I can feel it. Or you've got this health issue. I've had it with people where I'm like, I can sense there's like, a health ailment, and I can refer them to somebody. So you just don't know. It could be as simple as a tarot reading that you connect with someone that is part of your life path or part of your healing path. So it's great to just explore all modalities, not just tarot, explore all modalities of healing, because you just don't know who you're going to meet that helps you along your healing journey. So tarot is one of them that's just now transformed me from, I think a lady was once telling me, you're kind of transitioning, Alex, from helping people from the holistic nutrition side of things, and now you're kind of healing or helping them from a place of via the tarot. This is your new tool. It's not the vitamin bottles or the blender. It's something, another tool that you're using to help people through their journey. So I was like, that's a good way of looking at it. And that's when back to your earlier question, that's when I embraced it. I was like, good point. I think I'm just going to run with it and keep going. And that's
never
where
look
I'm at.
back.
Yeah.
And now it's going amazing.
It's going awesome.
Your YouTube channel is going to be blowing up.
It's growing, slowly but surely, because I don't have a lot of social media except for that. I think that's one of the...
Maybe you'll have more social media.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you very much for coming out on this day. And once again, we're here in the studio with Alex from Blue Mountain Tarot. Blue Mountains. I would say mountain, eh? It's mountains. Blue Mountains Tarot. And he could be emailed if ever you have any questions or anything. And I'm sure you'll be more than happy to respond when you have time. It might take some time because he's a busy man.
Yeah.
But he will get back to you. And it's Blue Mountains with an S, tarot @gmail.com. And once again, we'll have all the links of all the places we talked about in the bottom, and where local people can find you and where people can reach out and do a Zoom call with you.
For sure.
And I appreciate the work you do. I appreciate you and the energy you brought into our studio. This is the first time we're recording in this new space.
Awesome. Thank you.
We're still got a little more work to do, but I do appreciate your energy. And this, I couldn't have asked for a better guest.
Awesome.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming.
I appreciate it too. Thank you for letting me share.
Well, thank you. You have a great one.
You too.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. And once again, this is Mike with Life Changers.